Let's leave Katie Gallagher there. We'll bring in Matt Canavan, still in Canberra. So would have been worse under you, apparently, Matt. What are your thoughts, I should say, on that?
Yeah, well, if that's the best they've got, I don't think people are feeling too comfortable. They can't tell you that your life's better or they've done things to make the cost of living easier for Australians. They've only got some mythical comparison to say it'd be worse under the other side. Now, obviously, that's a hypothetical, and you can't prove or contradict a hypothetical. But the clear fact is that Australia's standard of living has dropped further than any other country, any other developed country, I should say, in the world in the past 2 years where this government has been in power. In fact, it's not even close. Our standard of living in this country has dropped by 8 percentage points, whereas in the US, in the G7, the OECD, they've all seen increases of between 4 to 6%. Now, that gap, to put it in monetary terms, is around $8,000 per working Australian per year. And that's why people are feeling crushed right now. And the government has no economic agenda to fix this. We're debating a social media ban bill today. There's no attempt to try and remove regulations, to lower taxes on businesses, to try and get investment going in this country. Quite the opposite. Just a few weeks ago, the government stopped a $1 billion gold mine because of a mythical bee. I mean, what the hell is going on in this country? And that's why people are suffering right now. So I reckon it's time to give another mob a go, get these guys out. They have no economic agenda, and get some people in there who are going to focus on the economy, focus on reducing government waste, focus on getting rid of too much red tape.
So you mentioned that social media bill that's going to be debated today. Where are you on that debate? Because, I mean, we can all acknowledge, can we not, that the kids are being bullied online. Some of them are going to drastic measures to end their lives because the bullying is so bad. They've got heightened anxiety because of it too. But if you put a ban in place, I mean, there are just going to be workarounds. It's easy.
Well, look, I absolutely share the concerns that many of my colleagues have, that parents have. I, as a parent, have those concerns too about the abuse of social media by young Australians. And you're right to highlight that it has led to some terrible and tragic outcomes. You asked where I am with this bill, I don't think it should be passed this week. I don't understand the haste here. The government itself admits that this is world-leading legislation, and so why has an unprecedented, complex regulation of something as evolving as social media been given just a week for public scrutiny? The government released this bill on Thursday last week. It was the first time I or anyone from the public saw it. They asked for submissions for 24 hours by the Friday. By the Monday, we had a public hearing, and today the committee's report will be tabled in the Senate. The government has treated the Australian people with contempt here by giving them such a limited time frame to respond to laws that will affect their lives. Yeah. Despite that 24-hour period, we had 15,000 submissions made. Just 100 odd have been published on the committee website so far, and the report's about to be tabled. It is a joke. It is an embarrassment, and we should pause this, extend the inquiry, and let's take a bit more time to consider this world-leading legislation.
All right. Well, that's what the social media giants have said this morning. Snapchat, Meta, X, they've all criticised the timing of that. But I'm almost out of time. I do want to ask you about the lights potentially going out in New South Wales over the next few days. Well, the chances are increasing anyway with some seriously hot weather on the way, Matt. Some of the state's generators are out of service because of maintenance. Should there be a better time to do this?
Well, they do schedule the maintenance across the year. Look, I'm not familiar with exactly the circumstances of these plants, but they do try and do that maintenance in lower times. I mean, the heat here is a little bit hotter than normal for this time of year, but the sad fact is we now have an electricity grid that is dependent on the weather, and that's a very vulnerable position to be in because the weather, of course, can be unpredictable. Yeah. We have old and ageing coal-fired power stations. Old and ageing machinery is going to break down. We should build new and modern and cleaner coal-fired power stations so we can ride through these events, provide certainty to business. We're just not going to get that productivity going and our standard of living up in this country unless we can provide reliable and affordable energy. That is key. Energy is life. Energy is your economy. And we've got to stop relying on such old, dilapidated coal-fired power stations for our basic electricity needs.
So until new ones are built, I'll have to close here, but until new ones are built, should the federal government negotiate ownership of remaining coal stations in New South Wales to ensure that they're kept in a good state?
I think that's a matter for state governments. They have owned many of these assets in the past. They sold them. Well, I don't think we need to. The state governments are doing that. All state governments are doing it. Victoria's doing it. New South Wales doing it. Queensland still own their coal-fired power stations. So I don't think there's a need for the federal government to do that. We've probably got enough on our plate.
Sure, fair enough. Good to see you, Matt.